Hi everybody, I just want to do a little video on how we value our collections, what it is about them that we value. For a little while now I've been sort of re-evaluating my process of what it is I want out of my collection, what it is that I really enjoy, and what it is I'm finding that I don't enjoy. There's a whole mix of different things, but there's a whole host of stuff on my shelves, as you know from watching my random shelves, which I think, I don't know if I really want a lot of it anymore. I don't know if it's just as you develop as a collector, whatever, you change and you refocus. I know some people are very, very fixated on one particular period, one particular kind of music. And I was like that to some degree in the past. But, you know, I have a wide taste and a very eclectic taste. And I can listen to all sorts of stuff and it goes, oh, I really like this. And I can find value in it. I mean, one of the biggest things that we value is, of course, the music itself. But the records on the shelf, sometimes, we buy special editions. We buy things. I've got the Beefheart, the Jack White one, and it's still sealed. It came in the bag and the extra single and stupid extra bits and bobs. And you're never going to use the bag, because as soon as you use that bag, you've devalued the whole thing. Because all of a sudden it becomes about monetary value. And that's not really, I mean, some people may, that may be a meaningful thing to them. And I think it is to all of us to some degree. We're happy when we find something cheap and it's worth more money. But essentially it's still just a record in a sleeve, etc. But when you've got a record that is sealed and it's just sitting there, what is the point of that really? I mean, some people really do like having those things, and if they're particularly rare records, they see. But again, it becomes more about the monetary value, as opposed to the actual history of it, or the item itself, or the value in the terms of what it means to a collector to have that particular record. I'm thinking of like the Stooges or something, their first album, you have a mono promo of something and it's sealed, it'd be like, wow, that's amazing. As a collector, if you collected the Stooges, you'd be like, that is incredible. But at the same time, it'd be like, what can you do with it? It's just there. It's like it's something that should be in a museum almost. And sometimes I think our collections can become a little bit like museums. I'd be interested to know how audiophiles value their records. I've heard them say things like, someone's showing a record, go, oh yeah, I've got that record, and then being shot down with, yeah, but that's not this one. This one's even, you should get this one, it's better. I wonder how they value it, what it is that they value. It must be, obviously, this is the very best pressing, the best this and the best that. But we all obviously have very personal value, attachments to things and the way we value things. We have history with records. We have records which are our parents perhaps, or inspired by people, or maybe friends who have passed on, or whatever. There's all sorts of emotional attachments that we have as well, nostalgically, etc. But there's also records that we have a sort of sense of a peace in owning, if you like. They're comfortable. They're meaningful in a comfortable, old shoe fitting sort of way. They're just there. They're things we've had for years, and they are really wonderful. Some records, of course, they have inspired us, and we've gone, wow. I bought the Nuggets box set, it's CDs, and that really just kick-started a whole new thing for me. So those moments are wonderful as well, and you never forget. I remember paying for it, and I remember hearing some of those tracks and thinking, wow, And I really want to get the 45s. And so those sorts of records as well, those sorts of moments they inspire, those things become valuable in those terms. There's all sorts of ways of looking at it. And I'm sort of re-evaluating a little bit of a moment, because I know, people have said, why don't you get rid of all the stuff you don't really want so much, or you're not necessarily going to listen to so often, and get the records you really want? Because there've been quite a lot of times lately when I felt like I haven't really wanted a lot of records. There's so many things I've wanted in the past that I don't necessarily want so much anymore. I was rather generously, very generously offered a record just today, and just for free. And it's quite a valuable record now. But I resampled it and I thought, I don't know if I would listen to this so much anymore. It's been on my, I rarely use this term, but Grail list for years. And at the time I really wanted it. But resampling it, I realised that maybe I've sort of shifted slightly. And the kind of music I may not listen to so much anymore. I have moments where I listen to those sorts of things, but there's something inside me which is maybe looking for other things, like maybe wanting to concentrate more on, for example, last year I found an amazing collection of UK jazz, the early tempo albums, really rare records, hundreds of pounds worth each. And it triggered something in me to look at the history of that period, and the design and everything. It sort of really did something to me. That inspires me to find that kind of record and maybe seek some more out on that label. They are phenomenally rare, but maybe actually actively seek. I haven't really been actively seeking records for quite a long time in terms of that record and that record and that record, because they tend to be stupidly rare or high priced records that I really want. But I'm happy with a lot of the records I have, and I'm finding, I'm buying, etc. But when you can find those one or two, you think, wow, that's kind of perhaps more meaningful. It's like UK rock and roll singles. There's a few of those I'd really like to get. But US garage singles I'd like to focus on maybe. I've got quite a lot, but there are just some gems, which I've wanted for years and I still haven't got. And although I've got lots of other records and stuff, and I know that would mean a lot to me and it would get played more. I'm thinking of, for example, Made of Sugar, Made of Spice. Tracks like Bad Girl, The Zachary Facts. Those sorts of tracks, just amazing, and they're a few £100, maybe £200 or £300 for a single. For that kind of thing, when you get it, you think, yeah, I know I'm going to really enjoy this. I'm never going to tire of it. There's certain musics I'm finding that I don't tire of. There are certain things that will always have a kind of resonance with me, and I won't move on from. It's a funny thing. I can listen to a lot of things and they're very interesting, and but there are certain sounds which I always kind of go back to and I'll never stop enjoying. I think it's just a case of maybe it's just there's that sweet spot of combination of the music, the item itself. We all love, I really, really like 45s and the design of them and the centers, etc. for labels, and the bags, everything. Just like I like the design of a lot of records, so there's the sweet spot of the perfect song. Well, that record which has for everything together. Because I know people will collect records sometimes because it has this cover is better than that cover. It could be issued in a different country, but for one, it may not even be the original country of issue, but this is for better cover, so I will have that one because I don't want the one with such a bad cover. So we collect for all sorts of sort of odd reasons sometimes, or things that just touch us and move us. We enjoy all the aspects of collecting. So when I look at my collection, there are some records I'm like, yeah, some records I'm like, yes, I'm so glad to have that. I'm really happy. Sometimes I'm really happy because I find a record. I know it's a rare record, but you play it because I find a lot of things as sort of just in charity shops. I haven't always heard things. I'm aware of a lot of it. I know what most of them will be or are. I will have come across them in the past, maybe, but I haven't necessarily heard them. Sometimes you think, I know this is a rare one. I'll be showing one in my next video. But you think, well, this is a rare one. But is it all that when you listen to it? Does it really do it for you? No. So it doesn't matter about the value. Sometimes you hold on to things for a while because you remember the moment again. It's a great find, etc. But it's not. It's not the one thing for you. Hasn't got that extra special something. I do like to pass those records on. It doesn't matter how valuable they are. I just like to pass them on if I can. But there's still also the exploration element of collecting, the finding the things which you really, that new sound, that new record is going to take you elsewhere, and you think, wow, this is something else. There's still that aspect of collecting. So the value is still in the searching and the seeking out. That's one of the biggest things for me. It's the searching, the seeking out for knowledge, and they all go hand in hand. And if you get the perfect sweet spot of the design and knowledge and the history and the music, that's the thing. Now, if I was to look at my collection and find those records that actually hit that sweet spot, I don't know how many there would be, to actually hit them all. You don't have to have them all, of course. I don't collect records for design purposes solely at all. I mean, it's not something I think I really want this record. I don't think about the design firstly, but if it's there, it's a bonus. So, but there are a lot of areas that I'd like to kind of focus in on, and I think that's what this is kind of rambling on about. So my records, my beef art records that are sitting there, that are sealed, and it was the one completist collection that I was going for. Although even then I had two records I was never going to buy, go out of my way to buy. If I find them for cheap, I'll buy them. But it was the completist that bought those records, and because I wanted to hear something different, I wanted to hear them. The original tapes have been found and remastered, not remastered, but whatever. Yeah, they were remastered, and so I wanted to hear it differently. That's another aspect, but it's for completion. I'm not really a completist at all. I can get deep into a genre and buy a lot of stuff in that genre, but the completist thing isn't really me. Now, some people really value that and love an artist so much that they will get everything they possibly can buy, but that's not really me. So this video will probably come to an abrupt end. But it's just an interesting subject. It's just a way of looking at things. But I think it's interesting how the tastes change. And I always find it amazing that people can stick with one kind of music and just, not buy anything else and just focus on that. But it's also good to see people who have been into one thing for a long time, and then all of a sudden they get terribly excited by something new, And I really enjoy seeing that. I think one of the things that I enjoy most, for example, in the VC videos, etc., is seeing the happiness that people have when they find things or they buy things, and it really does mean something. But it's these records, what do they actually mean? What is it that you value? How do you actually evaluate what you have, and what does it mean to you? There's a certain amount of meaning to a collection. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, thank you very much if you made it this far. It's just a food for thought. I'm just going through my own processes, really. I'm sure other things will come to mind, but it'd be interesting to know how you evaluate things, and also if you did a video on this, not just about leaving comments, but just maybe think about it and talk about your own collections and how you value things. Anyway, that's it, and I'll see you all later. Cheers.